Hey everyone, welcome to another $500 strap search. This isn't just a $500 strap search, this is my 20th $500 strap search. Technically 19 since the first one was just an intro. I know I usually start off with a hint on how to collect and what's going on, so by doing that this time, what I want to do is I want to tell you what the US Mint is doing, trying to get everybody involved in collecting. If you collect coins, you're well aware that Philadelphia and Denver are the two places where coins are minted. Whenever they do proof sets, the proofs are usually done in San Francisco. So to see a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco is very common. That's what you're going to find on coins. However, they did just reopen the West Point Mint. There are West Point quarters out there, as well as West Point pennies. They'll have a W for their mint mark. As far as the quarters go, the regular population of newly minted quarters is somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 million, but West Point introduced 2 million quarters. So that is a less than 1% chance to find a West Point quarter in an uncirculated roll, much less to find it in any given roll. A couple of weeks ago, they were selling on eBay for over $100. Things have died down a little bit, and those quarters are selling for about $20 or so. I'm sure the price is going to continue to dip, but those are quarters you should be on the lookout for. So, of course, I went out and I bought a roll of quarters, and not knowing a whole lot about quarters, did my homework and found out what I could, and got lucky enough to find not a West Point quarter, but I did find one of the state quarters that has an error, and I've got the regular quarter next to it. This particular one right here is the regular quarter, which is Kansas. And those of you who collect quarters are familiar with the Kansas design. See if I can get the light on there. That's the Kansas state quarter. On the other side is where the error occurs, on the obverse, on the face. This is the regular issue coin, so let me focus more on the error. The error on the Kansas coin, let me get this focused, has to do with "In God We Trust." Now, when they cleaned the dies on this particular day, they did not clean out the T in trust, the very first T in trust, which results in it saying "In God We Rust." Now, you can make out the first T, but you can see that T, as I hold it up and glimmer it in the light like this, that T is barely there at all. This is known as the "In God We Rust" error. And I was extremely fortunate to find this coin while hunting through looking for a West Point coin. So it's not very often that I do coins, but I did happen to find that one when I was doing my search. Anyway, you're here for paper money, so there's the 500. I've got lots to show here. This week, couple trinaries, ones, twos, and sevens, zeros, fives, and nines, ones, sixes, and nines with the 6 overprint right there. You can see how that one's overprinted. And fours, fives, and eights, another trinary there. All of these are 2013, some of them better than others. This one I first looked at thinking it was a trinary, and then I looked a little closer. It is a trinary at 1, 2s, and 8, 1s, 2s, and 8s. But the other thing is that it's an alternator. It's a 2, 8, 2, 8, 2, 8, 1, 8. So almost a perfect binary alternator. But still, 8 is the letter, or 8 is the number every other spot. So 2, 8, 2, 8, 2, 8, 1, 8. So you've got the 8 as an alternator on that one. I found quads, 3 3s to end this number, and quad 6s on this particular bill. Lots of stars. Most of my stars were 2013. A lot of them are relatively high number, and quite a few of them were in fairly rough shape. This is a star note here that's a trinary as well. All 0s, 8s, and 9s. Another higher number for a star note, 2013. Another star note, this one's dirty, definitely going to be going back. Another star note, so this was a really good pull as far as star notes go. This one's fairly crisp. higher number. Real high number K, but I'll double check it anyway in case they started the print run in the middle. Another star note, very ragged, probably going back in circulation. The oldest star note I got, this one was 2006, so this one I'm very curious about. Now when I say I'm going to look up the star notes, there's a number of different websites you can use to find out how rare any given star note is. One of them is called mycurrencycollection.com, and there you can put in your star notes information, the year, the serial number, and it'll tell you the print run to give you an idea of the rarity of that particular note. Got a couple older bills. This one is 1995. Second 1995. Third 1995. Like I said, it was a good pull. A 1993. Fairly crisp. And a very raggedy 1988A. So that was my pulls for this week. And like I said, this is my 20th episode. Those of you who have watched all 20 episodes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. For those of you who get anything out of this, if there's anything that you learn, go ahead and hit that like button just so that I know that you guys are actually enjoying the stuff I do. I appreciate that as well. Now this week, for my special stuff, since this is my 20th episode, I decided how fitting to do 20s. So this is your standard $20 bill. Nothing very spectacular about it. If you look in your pocket, you've got one of these. I'm not here to say that this one is special, just putting the image in front of you. Current $20 bill. But before they made these, they had this version of the 20. This, I believe, started in 1996. This may even be that year, 1996, yes. And they printed these till about 2006, if I recall. So this was just the, I don't know how you'd call it, the uncolored bill. I don't want to say black and white because there's obviously green. The technical advance on this bill was that 20 being able to change colors if you held it just right. So that was the new security measure that they put in on this particular bill. The back of the bill, they shrunk what you would normally see on the back down into this oval, making these big fields of white. So yeah, these are still in circulation. These are fairly common to get. If you go back a little bit further, you find the small head $20 bill. Small head $20 bill, this one here is from 1985. This is what all of the new currency had been based on. You've got Jackson as the president. Here they call it the small head because it's literally the size of your thumb when you put it up there. Small head bills like this are getting harder and harder to find in circulation because it's so easy to take a strap and literally thumb through the strap and you'd spot one of these in a heartbeat. So these are getting tougher and tougher to come by. The back of this, you can see they did a full plate on this rather than just the small little oval. It's got the White House on the back. And if you've been into money for any period of time, you've probably owned a number of these yourself and probably have them. If I go back a little further, this one is from 1934. This one is called what's known as a limey. You'll notice the color green on here. They tried experimenting with a lighter color green versus the color green that we normally see. The dark green versus the light green. So this is one of the light green 20s from 1934. Looking at the back of the bill, it's almost the same picture. They put a more modern picture on the newer version. You can tell the difference in size of the trees. I've discussed that in other episodes before. But that would be the 1934 version of this bill. Now another thing they did, this is also a 1934. This one's a 1934A, but you'll notice that the lettering is different. It's red. Well, they technically call this brown lettering, even though it looks red on camera. You'll notice the word Hawaii here, here, and you'll really notice it across the back of the bill. Now, this was legal currency, of course, but this was called emergency currency for World War II. All of the money on Hawaii, which was not a state in World War II, all of the money there was U.S. legal tender. But they were worried about Japan coming in, invading, and literally stealing millions and millions of dollars in cash. So what they did was they removed all of the cash from Hawaii and replaced it with Hawaii bills. All these bills were marked Hawaii. They all had this special brown label on them. And that way, if Japan ever invaded, all the U.S. government would have to do is declare any brown stamped bill would be worthless. And that would prevent Japan from stealing millions of dollars in cash from all of our banks if they invaded Hawaii. So this was considered emergency currency. The back, like I said, is the same, except it's got Hawaii on there. And they also did the same with the North Africa bills. North Africa, they had a yellow seal instead of a brown seal. I don't have one of those yet, but I've got the 10, and I think I've shown that one already. Then you get to the very first year of the 20 that we have seen. This is from 1928. This is a 1928B. 1928B, they had a slightly bigger seal here. There's none of the arrows coming off the end. They used a slightly different mark here, and this one was redeemable in gold. They took that off of the more modern bills. In 1933, I believe, they passed a law stating that we were no longer allowed to have gold as currency. They repealed that law since then. But anyway, that's why all that stuff was redeemable in gold. But like I said, 1928B, here's the back of this one. So they haven't changed much on the back through the course of all of those years. And finally, we get to the very first small head bill. This was the 1928. And in 1928, that's where you spot the number instead of the letter. So this is the Chicago bill, number 7. 7's there for the security. This was the very first issue of the small type currency. All of the bills issued prior to this were about that big and about that long. You've seen me show a number of those bills there. But that is the history of the small size $20 bills from present all the way back till the inception in 1928. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.